Hi, I'm Carlene, and this is Diva Tonight. Hi, I'm Carlene, and this is Diva Tonight. We have with us on the Zoom call here Anna, aka Merival. How are you?
Yeah, I'm good, thanks. I'm really good. It was a beautiful day today. How are you?
I'm good. It was beautiful too. We're both in the same city, I assume. Where are you again?
I'm in Toronto.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, we are finally getting the weather we waited all winter for, and
God, I know.
now we
It
can
was
go to the park, Anna.
finally, it was so cold last week. Like, honestly, I live in this old ass house, and like my entire bedroom is basically just like single pane uninsulated windows. And I was like, even last week, I'm like wearing two pairs of every clothing that I own because it was like so cold just walking around in my own house. And so I'm very grateful for the sun.
They a lot of people in the States make fun of us because they think it's cold in June. It's really not cold in June,
It's
but
not, it's hot
sometimes,
as hell.
yeah, like we're not wearing winter jackets all year long, you know?
No, I'm putting them in storage. They're not allowed to come out again.
Not until like October or
Yeah,
late September, you know what I
yeah,
mean? So,
yeah, yeah.
yeah, yeah. We are talking about you and your music. Before we started, we were chatting about your appearance on This Is Nowhere.
Yeah, Tarek and Jordan's radio show.
Yeah. So tell me, like, I guess as an artist now, appearing on podcasts or radio shows is kind of key because radio is a little bit different right now, but
Yeah,
you're definitely getting yourself out there, that exposure, right?
I'm trying to. I mean, I probably have like less of a like structured career approach than a lot of people. And I do like when these kinds of things happen organically. Like Tarek used to do sound at a venue that I played in Ottawa that unfortunately closed last year, I think, Bar Robo.
Mhm.
So I met him there, and then we kind of were like chatting in the DMs over COVID, just being like, wow, everything's so messed up. Ah. And then we got to talk about the radio show, and he asked if I wanted to come on. I was like, hey, why not? Sounds fun. And then, yeah, they're just so funny. Like, I listened to one of their episodes. I was like, wow, you guys really like go all over the place. And they do this like weird field trip thing where like one of the guys just like narrates an experience, like a really mundane experience. Anyway, they're really, really funny guys. And I was really happy to do it. So it's
Well,
like that, the friendship connection, right? Like, it's like, oh, I already know you. You're a cool person. Like, yeah, let's do it.
that's kind of cool. It's nice to have friends that are willing to connect with you and you're part of their experience because, like you said,
Mm-hmm.
you know them. And I don't know you, but because of my friend Gina Kennedy,
Yes.
this is how networking is in this day and age. You network. Like she's my feature artist. And I told her, like, it'd be cool to have other artists. And all of a sudden, because of Altered by Mom, I am
Mm-hmm.
talking to you today. So,
Exactly. The beauty and power of the friendship connection.
yes, I told Gina, I'm like, thank you so much for doing this. It's nice to connect with other artists. I love music. And we're just talking about artists and how weird we are. Like some artists who are
Yes.
very strange. Like we could go back to Beethoven, Tchaikovsky, and all the weird things they've done. And,
Yeah.
I read your thing, which I thought was interesting. Your quote on your Facebook page says, sad girl having fun. I do like that. Tell me a little bit about that.
Sure. I mean, I think the music that I make is like pretty sad a lot of the time because that's sort of like more of the deep feeling that I can connect with. And then sometimes it's funny if I like go into or play a show and somebody meets me for the first time, they're like, "Oh, wow, you actually are like really bubbly and personable and stuff." And it's like it doesn't make that much sense with the music, like I'm not this morose person all the time. I guess nobody really matches up like that, but yeah, I guess just having a line like that in the bio is sort of like, look, I can do both sides of these. I contain multitudes. I can be sad and have fun, sometimes even at the same time.
You know what? I am kind of surprised at your personality, and it's very vibrant, and I love it.
Really?
Yeah.
Tell me more. Is it just
No, I
because the
think
sad girl comment?
yeah, the sad girl thing. Like, people who create like sad music, they're not always very perky or
No.
personable that way. Like, so we are talking about your latest EP and some of the songs you have on there, like Either Side. I really like that
Mhm.
one.
Oh, thank you. Thank
And
you so much.
Patience. Yes, Patience got to me. So I was like, I
Oh,
don't know. Like you said, some of your music it's more of like calming. It's very soft and it's very like, avant-garde. So what is your inspiration for the music that you create?
I guess if I had to say it broadly, I would say like tension, external conflict that then is turned into internal conflict. So then I think I deal with that internal conflict when I can by like writing about it. So I feel like, it's, to me, there's not like, it wouldn't make a lot of sense for me to write a happy song because like there's not a ton of tension for me to play with there, right? Like when I'm like up, or if I'm feeling, I experience mania sometimes. So like if I'm feeling kind of manic, I'm like, woo, I'm enjoying this. I'm not like writing a song about it, I'm living my life now. And when I'm too sad to go out and live my life, that's when I'm going to write about it.
Yeah. Well, it's like poetry. I find like my best poems are the ones I wrote when I was angry. You are an independent artist, meaning that you own the rights to your music.
Hell yeah.
And no one is like going to be like, well, that's owned by so-and-so, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So tell me the reason for that.
Well, I feel like there wasn't like, I didn't go into music being like, I'm going to stay fiercely independent necessarily. So it's, I mean, it's partially like, okay, like nobody's asked me to sign a label deal or like sell out or anything. So I've never been given that option, but then like the more time goes on without that option and the more I learn about like other people's relationship with labels or management teams or stuff like that, it's like, it can be so easy to get into a bad contract. I have friends who have been like so screwed over. And so it's like, okay, I want to really take my time. If that's ever an option available to me, it has to be like really hard thought about. And then also like when you think about just the music industry as a whole and how like predatory and capitalistic and like racist and misogynistic it is, I'm like, do I want to like sign on to like a label or someone who's going to like get my career farther if it then means like capitulating to their demands that I don't agree with, even something as mundane as like, I know some people who have like management relationships where their managers are like, okay, you have to post twice a week on the grid and then a story every 12 hours at least, or like something like that, whatever. Right. Like, it's so managed. It's so like micromanaged. And I'm like, oh my God, being on social media destroys my brain. If that was a requisite to having like support from this person, then I'm like, no, thank you. I'm sorry. Like I need to manage that relationship on my own so that I can like survive and be healthy. So sorry.
Yeah. You just said that. Like, I mean, now with social media, you have to keep posting just to keep people's interest there. Like even me, I don't have a manager tell me how many times I post, but I try and post at least once or twice a day on Instagram if I can. Sometimes I'll take a little time, but like you said, in this day and age, it's all about your social media presence. And obviously you are on multiple platforms so that people can find you. And your album is on bandcamp.com, which is kind of cool. I like the setup here. Yeah. So either side, let's start with that. What was the inspiration for this song?
Well, I wrote that song in the fall of 2019.
Pre-COVID? Before COVID?
I know. Can you imagine? There used to be a before time. Things used to be different. But it's actually funny because I wrote it out of some like lingering feelings and experiences because I was super, super sick in the summer of 2019. So I was kind of like stuck inside my house. It was like the pre-COVID experience. It was like COVID practice. I had like, I don't know, bronchitis or like walking pneumonia or something. I had this terrible cough and I had a fever for like a month and I couldn't really like leave the house for longer than 15 minutes at a time before I was like, oh God, I need to sit down, So I kind of had this pre-experience of being really isolated and then dealing with like a lot of depression as a result of that, like isolation, canceling shows, being unable to like participate in a lot of stuff. And at the same time was like processing, some family stuff, some stuff that was going on. How am I going to say this? It was sort of a wondering on the expressions of my own mental health or like lack of it. And like the support that I did and did not have and like seeing what I was able to access. And like the fact that I have been able to be just well enough to kind of like keep my nose clear of other stuff and like look after myself, But there are a lot of people who don't have access to the same resources that I've had access to, or who don't have supportive family or functioning relationships And then you see the outcomes of those kinds of situations and that trauma and that intergenerational trauma in people who then become lifelong addicts or lose their housing or stuff like that. So I kind of was reflecting on like how thin that line is, because I think it's a lot thinner than most of us want to think that it is, right? Like someone like me with the mental health stuff that I struggle with and like the diagnoses that I have, if I didn't have certain work experience or like family that would support me if I needed it or whatever, I could so easily be that person. And some of my siblings could so easily be that person who's like lost and left on the streets and out of options for where to go, right? So I was kind of reflecting on like, okay, I've declined to really get involved in too much social justice stuff or like helping people on the ground because my mental health has been so poor. But it's also like because I've gone through that shit, and as I find some stability, I do feel a need to then find a way to give back and find a way to make sure that those things can be like accessible to other people. And also to make sure that like people in general and people that I know have an understanding that like there's not some weird divide between all of us safe in our houses and all the people out there who aren't safe in their houses, you know, who don't have a house to be safe.
Right.
It's just not like we're not that far away from each other, really. It's like a couple wrong turns and you could just be screwed, you know?
Definitely. And, you know, like you said, you're talking about depression, and I spoke to a coach. She's a nutritionist coach, and she said that depression has tripled in the last year. And so
Not surprised at all.
Yeah. How many lockdowns can you really go through and be okay? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like the first one was hard enough. That was like a shock to the system. But once you're like, okay, well, now I need to figure out game plan here, because this is like the third or fourth time and I need to do something that makes you feel normal, right? Even if that means going to the mall. Even though the mall's freaking empty, right, Anna? There's no one at the mall. Like,
well, I hope so. I wouldn't know because I'm not going.
Well, not now. I went in December.
Oh yeah.
For just to run. I had to go to the post office.
Yeah.
And it felt like a scene in a movie. And I think that's how I realize how this is real. Like if you think that this isn't happening, just walk into some of the places that you remember being busy, like the mall during the holiday season.
Yeah. Yeah. It's kind of, it feels sort of like dystopian, eh?
Yeah.
Like when the lockdown started last year, it was like all of a sudden the roads were just empty. I was like biking in the middle of the street and everything. I was like, oh my God, there's nobody here. It is like a post-apocalyptic movie. I'm like, where is everyone? We're all just like scared inside our houses. Yeah.
So you just talking about, you know, how you created that single there when you were going through that time. But I guess as an artist, that's very introspective, you know, just looking back. And so when you were growing up, like who inspired you? Like, did you always know that you wanted to create music, or is it something that happened later on in life?
I was always creating music to some extent. Like I was a musical kid. I started picking stuff out on the piano when I was really little, and it was really important to my mom that we all had music lessons. So that was kind of, you know, she was able to give me that sort of like platform to start from and like some sort of formal instruction. But like, I definitely didn't, you know, through my teens or whatever, I wasn't like, I'm going to be a professional musician. That's what I'm going to do. Because probably, like, honestly, if I had had a realistic expression of what that actually looks like in real life, I probably would have been like, woo, this looks hard. Maybe not. But as it turned out, like, I did go to university for a year, and that was even harder, and I dropped out. So after a little while, I was hanging out in Guelph, and I was sort of like, well, I'm playing music. I'm in this band. Like, why don't I just move to Toronto and like try and make a go of it? Because I have other friends who are doing that, but they have this like debt from school on top of them. And I don't have that. So, you know, maybe I can see what that's like. You know, if I move to Toronto, I play some gigs, I meet some people, let's see how it goes. And then over the last, like, what is it now? 8 years? I think it'll be 9 years since September that I've been here. So it's like every year it's gotten a little bit more like, oh, okay, I understand a little more of what is required to like both have a career as a musical artist and also like what is required of me as an actual human being to sustain myself in this like ridiculous career. So every year I learn a little more about that. And every year I get a little more like, okay, yes, I'm committed to this. I'm going to figure out how to do this. like, minus a blip last summer during COVID where I was like, holy hell, I'm going to quit. This sucks.
Mm-hmm.
But I think everybody kind of goes through that at some point. I hadn't really yet. So I was like, this feels terrible, but it's all good. I'm not going to quit.
Yeah. You have to keep pushing through. The one thing is like being consistent, right?
Yeah, well, not my strong suit.
I can relate to you there. You know what?
Yeah?
We were being consistent. Like this show here, Diva Tonight, also known as Carlene Tonight. I started it when I finished college and I wasn't getting work in radio. And so I started it as like this thing to keep me still in the industry somewhat.
Yeah.
And the show was playing on an internet radio station, SRN1, like 148.ca, which is a colleague of mine. And so he's my reason for starting this whole journey. And there's been periods where it's like, I was consistently creating the show for 2 years, then things happen in life and then you fall off, right? And
there's got to be room for those real life times when you're like, holy shit, I can't focus on anything else. I just need to survive right now.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. When you're a dreamer and you are someone who creates, people remind you of that. I don't know if for you, if people have said to you, Anna, you need to still, this is something that you're really good at. You know what I mean? And I had that like maybe, when was it?
That's
2
really
years
beautiful.
ago.
And people like, did you have that reaction from people as well? Were they like, oh, Carlene, you got to stay in this. Like, you're so good at it. This is, part of your calling or whatever. Like, don't give up so easy.
Yeah, I did. And like when you continuously hear it, you can't ignore it. So when I have like
believing people eventually.
I'm like, they're like, you have the voice. Like you should be doing like something with your voice because, not everyone has that voice, right? That can catch attention or
Yeah, it's true. You do. I mean, if you want to look at it like, some sort of like given gift or whatever that you have that is sort of like yours to share with the world, then like, what are you doing by hiding it?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Who are you helping? Or are you helping yourself? Or like, are you the fullest expression of yourself if you're putting this part of you away?
Definitely. So even for you, right? Like this album is your benchmark. And I feel like people should, like since we're talking about the music, I think that because we were talking about either side, that we should play that. I'm Carlene and this is Diva Tonight. We're going to play Either Side by Merival.
Go into my house, gonna feel good in my room, gonna wipe out the other words. No one's around. In a minute I'll open the blinds. Something reminds me to try. Maybe I will let go of some heavy expectations. Maybe I won't. The people with the power are a wet duvet in summer, and I'm choking on my doubt that a change is coming in time to help the ones who need it most. I can't be the one who's always hiding in my room with my face turned down. I have the eyes to see.
Hi, I'm Carlene, and this is Diva Tonight. I have with me Anna, aka
Hello.
Merival, and she's not as sad as her music.
Amazing. I'm not. Well, not all the time.
Sometimes we are sad. I mean, music
Hell yeah.
brings out like those emotions. And you know what? I guess if I listen to your song now and I'm happy, then it doesn't feel the same way. But when you're going through a breakup and you're listening
Oh, yeah.
to either side, you're like, sometimes you hear the lyrics a little bit more. You're like, wow.
I do highly recommend, I don't know if this is allowed to say, I'm highly recommend my own music if you're like going through a breakup. 'Cause that shit makes me cry when I'm writing it. So I hope it makes other people cry too.
Yes, definitely. We're here to share your music with the one person who's listening and they
come
can
on.
relate. I feel like you know me a little bit, even though you don't really know me, because actually someone came up to me the other day and they're like, I'm your biggest fan. I'm like, what do you mean? I'm like,
Really?
did you actually listen? Yeah, because he just told me that he's been listening to the podcast. And I'm always surprised when people are like,
cool.
like, oh, you actually listen. That's kind of cool. Yeah.
That's amazing.
Right?
Oh my God. Good for him.
Right?
A message for everyone listening. Do that. Tell the people who make cool art that you like, tell them that you like it because they need to hear it.
Some of us do need the affirmation. We all need to hear it sometimes because we don't realize how we impact people. And I'm sure that's what you want to do with your music. And
definitely.
Like, why do you create music, Merival?
Big question. I mean, it feels better than anything else. When it's really the truest like when I'm really doing it and not thinking about anything else, like if I'm playing or writing and I'm not thinking about who's going to listen to the song or like whether it's going to be successful, or like if it makes sense in the rest of my catalog, it just feels better than doing anything else. And I'm lucky enough to be good at it. So I should do it. I got to do it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And like I've had that conversation with so many friends over the years that are like, no matter how much you're making or what you do, you're going to still be a musician no matter what, like we talked about before, so it's like, I can't get rid of it. Why fight it?
Yeah. Yeah. And how long did it take you to put this album together? Obviously the first song you wrote in 2019 and you have 4 songs on the EP. Mm-hmm. Right. So what was the process like?
I wrote most of the songs in 2019 and there's one older one in there from 2017. And then I actually pulled it together. Normally it's taken me a really long time to work on releases, but I pulled it together pretty quickly with my engineer and producer, Sam. We did a couple sessions in like January, February 2020 before everything went completely upside down. And it was supposed to be like, I was going to just make a cassette and I was going to take it on tour because I was going to be going on tour for like 3 months with another band. And then on my own, I was going to go to the UK, the US, like West Coast, stuff like that. So I was like, okay, I'll just do this like quick little EP. It's amazing. I'm so happy to have it out so quickly. I'll sell the cassette on tour. And then next year I'll like get a grant and make a big record if I can, and then everything shut down. And I was like, whoa, that's not happening. No touring, no cassette sales, no nothing. So this kind of became more like, as you said, it became like more of a benchmark than it was meant to be. It was just sort of meant to be like one last kick at the can in terms of like the DIY style.
Wow.
Yeah. So I was like, I didn't mind rushing. I was like, this is amazing. It's like, it's very real and true. It's like recent stuff. Other stuff, like other records that I've released or EPs that I've released have material that's like, 5, 6, 7 years old sometimes because I don't write that fast. But it was cool to do it all in a rush. It really was.
And then you had like a goal in mind, or you just said to yourself that this is what I'm going to do in this amount of time.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I was like, I have these tours starting this time. I want the EP out. I want the tape ready. I want to take it on tour. Cool. Boom. Deadline, motivation.
Your tour sounds fun. I mean,
would have been.
Yeah, would have been. Would have been. Right.
I'm like,
but for the future of your career and just like where we see ourselves, you know what I mean? Like I guess it's like we're all waiting for the reopening, and a lot of artists are talking about their 2022 tour.
Oh yeah.
And we're in 2021, but now we're thinking about 2022, and hopefully at that point, that's when we can all be at a venue listening to Merival sing.
Hopefully.
Anna, well, it's not Merival. Anna singing
Honestly, I'll answer to both. It's all good.
Okay. So
Don't worry.
Anna, who is your favorite artist, or name a few artists that you love?
A
Tell me.
few that I love.
Mhm.
Well, if I had to pick one favorite, this is kind of more of like a nostalgia favorite almost. And like, just because he was so, so formative for me when I was younger, would be Sufjan Stevens, kind of like the ultimate queer sensitive king. I love his music so much. And I just like, it made such an impression on me when I was in my teens and like younger than teens. And like for years and years, I listened to him so much. Yeah, I really, really love him. I really love Deerhoof. I don't know if you've heard of the band Deerhoof. They are like face melting, knock your socks off, like crazy, intense, like jangly guitar riffs, the most whack drummer. They're all these like cool leftists from San Francisco, and they've just been this band together for like 25 years doing their own thing and like not really giving a shit about anything else. They're really amazing. Gosh, other favorites, Joni Mitchell for sure. The classic CanCon in there. Yeah, lots of singer-songwriters. Feist was big when I was little. I really liked Joanna Newsom.
Oh my God, Feist! You're bringing us back. Wow, I love that. Oh yeah,
I know, right? Remember when 1, 2, 3, 4 was on the radio like every 5 minutes?
Yeah. Now I feel like I have to go. Like, I mean, after I have to listen back to some Feist. Bring her back.
Yeah.
Feist, are you hearing us?
Leslie, where are you?
Other than music, tell us what other things you like to do, and what has been your COVID thing to look forward to. Do walks, ride your bike? What's your
COVID
thing?
savior.
Right? Pandemic savior. Yeah.
Yeah.
For your own sanity.
I do really like riding my bike. After 9 years, almost 9 years now in Toronto, I'm like beginning to be less anxious about riding it around. So that's good. I have a lot of houseplants. I'm taking care of a lot of houseplants. So kind of like walking around the rooms and checking up on them and watering them is like a really good regulatory activity for me. Kind of chills me out. I've been cooking a lot. I've been grocery shopping like a mom, meal prepping. I've been sort of like redecorating my home. I don't know if you're into astrology at all. I'm not like super big into it, but I am a very Taurus. So I've made my house into like a very beautiful little nest of treasures that I've gotten for free or cheap and turned into nice things. So
that's so cool. I am a little bit into astrology. I try not to focus it for certain things, but the one thing I do like about your astro sign is that you're very grounded. Taurus is very grounded, very laid back. One of my friends that I've known for like 19 years, I have never seen my friend like angry. He's always laid back. I've seen him upset, but like he likes to ride his bike too. And he's the neighborhood bike. And like everyone knows him in the neighborhood. He's been in the same neighborhood for years. And like, I don't know. I feel like that's part of the Taurus trademark. You're like so grounded. And like when you guys are pursuing of something, like that's usually what you're known for too. But it's so like cool.
Sinking your teeth in. Yeah. Well, I mean, there must be something else in my chart because I'm not a terribly grounded person. Definitely.
Like I'm not really grounded. So you're like a cusp between. Are you like a little bit of Taurus, a little bit of Gemini? You got the twins
you know what?
You?
Yes, I do. I'm Gemini rising. I'm like Taurus, Taurus sun, Taurus moon, Taurus Venus, and then Gemini rising. So I think
I figured it out.
That's that's where I'm like at the party talking to someone like, and then somebody else comes up and I'm just like switching texts. Oh my God, who are you? That's where that shit comes from.
There we go. The Gemini. We got it. See, I'm like, you're not 100% Gemini, Anna. There's a little bit more to you. Well,
I mean, we all have layers. In some way. Exactly.
Yeah.
Like ogres and onions.
So I learned a little bit this year too. I did a little research. I'm 80% Aries and 20% Taurus.
Whoa. Oh, nice. Okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
And my friend did a reading for me and she's like, you are the fire sign and like very powerful that way. And like,
Does that feel true for you?
Yeah, sometimes. Sometimes I want to be hide, but I am like you. I think both of us, like if we were at a party, we'd have fun at the party because like my
Hell
friends
yeah.
know me at the beach and they're like, Carly, hey, what's up? Like because when you have that energy, it just like people gravitate to it, even if you don't want.
Yeah.
Do you find that?
Yes, definitely. Yeah. Especially when I'm feeling social and I can be really excitable. Like I can definitely kind of like whip people up a bit and be like, woo, it's like everyone get excited.
That's good though. You know what I mean? We all need someone like that in our life. And I love that you're here, you're chatting with me. And if we could play one more song, which would you like us to play?
I'm going to say Me and My Friends off the EP. I think you should play that one because it's kind of the other side of the spectrum on that EP sonically. And like, yeah, it's another side of myself that I haven't showcased much. So I would like to, I think
I'm glad that you said that because I thought that song was interesting too. Anyways, we're going to play it. I'm Carlene and this is Diva Tonight. This is Merival, Me and My Friends.
What am I left with if I throw out everything I don't like, everything I don't love? I see it in other people, I guess there's supposed to be some value to what you do all day. I want to grow some more plants and that's a good enough reason to keep going for now. But imagine if I really knew how much good was actually in the world, how much love there really is. Me and my friends are still kids and we don't know, and maybe never will. Maybe we never will. I've read too many thoughtful books to be surprised by this uselessness. But then here we are. I've said too many thoughtless things to be surprised that they're haunting me. But that's life with a big mouth. Perhaps the greatest myth is that you'll ever grow up and feel in control for more than 1 week. So why do they tell it to us? Me and my friends are in love with each other, but sometimes love makes you mean. Me and my lovers are friends with each other, but sometimes the friendship's not clean. Me and my mind are at war half the time, and I wonder if there's another way. Only so many repetitions of telling yourself day to day. Me and my friends are in love with each other, but sometimes love makes you mean. Holding our hands in each other's, we try to get by, and we try to stay clean.
Hi, I'm Carlene, and this is Diva Tonight. We have with us Anna, who is
Hello.
a singer, songwriter, bike rider. She's sad sometimes, and then sometimes she's so happy that she brings her energy to the room. Like I'm feeling her energy right now. I'm like, Anna, when are we going for a drink, girl? You know?
Let's do it. Oh my God. I mean, when are the patios open?
When they open.
Not that I'm not rushing it. I'm not rushing it.
I'm
But
not
like,
rushing it either. You know what I mean? I don't know. I think we've gotten used to it, but like we create our own patio / bar. Like I feel like,
patio. Yeah.
Right? Bring the drinks to the beach. Don't tell anyone, right?
Oh my God, I love the beach. The beach is honestly like my 100% happy place. I feel like I got to take all of my friends to the beach with me one by one, just so they can see like the true expression of me, which is me at the beach.
Oh my God, you just shared something dear to my heart. I love Woodbine Beach, my favorite beach. No, there's something about it, right? It's just a very calming place. And I feel like whenever things are hard in life, that it's good to be in that kind of environment, close to the water and the sand.
Yes.
And yeah, that is so cool. I like that. So one last question. Tell me something that someone does not know about you. Something like, I don't know. Weird. Tell me something about the sad girl.
Oh God. Okay. I'll have to think for a second, because I feel like I'm such a compulsive oversharer that there's probably not that much that I haven't told at least one person. Right. Something that no one knows about me.
Well, you know what? Let me say this. Like during the pandemic, what has been the hardest thing for you? You know, that you've come to terms with, like, because obviously you've been like me, spending more time by yourself, right?
Yeah. That's a hard one to tease out too, because so much stuff happened, pandemic wise, and then so much on top, like a lot of really painful, traumatic stuff went down. Mm-hmm. So I think, I think the biggest struggle has been finally coming to terms with what's going on in my own brain. Like I got some new diagnoses recently, and kind of putting the pieces together, being like, oh, this really makes sense as to why so many of my relationships have been messed up, and so many, I have such difficulty in so many different areas, especially interpersonal ones. So I think, the great struggle of like watching those relationships play out and fall apart and grow and fall apart, and then starting to realize and learn that like there are some underlying reasons for some of that stuff. That's been tough. And I think it kind of takes the cake, because it's like, that's also a lifelong thing, right? Like, it's like, I'm going to be figuring out how to deal with myself for the rest of my life. But COVID kind of cracked the nut open, because I had the time to think about it finally,
Wow.
Like sit down and take a breather.
Mm-hmm. Everything you said just resonated with me. Oh my God. So much in common. Yeah. Oh my gosh. I'm sorry. Yeah. No, it's no, I'm not sorry about it at all. I think COVID kind of like you said, it made you deal with some things that you haven't been dealing with, because everything slowed down. And like, we were so, I don't know, I guess me and you, like, just based on what you said, maybe you're like me, like you're in survival mode, like you're always like, go, go, go. Yeah. And now there's no go, go, go. So things are happening. And for me, like I wasn't sleeping as much as I used to sleep. And and then you realize how important sleep is. And like you said, you learn some things. I've come to terms with some of my new diagnosis myself. So when you say that,
we got a lot to talk about.
Yeah, I know. I was just like, wow. So definitely you sharing that. And you know what? It's good that you created this album in 2019, and like people can listen to it now, and reflect back on the time, because I feel like some of the shows on mental health is in relation to so many people dealing with mental health concerns, and like having to, if you weren't fixing it before, you're definitely fixing it now.
Exactly. Yeah. Anything that you were trying to ignore, either consciously or subconsciously, is like, hello, not anymore. Let's deal with it now.
Yeah. And this show's about the relationships that we have with our lovers, our friends, but also the relationship you have with yourself, because
that's going to dictate all the other ones.
Yes, exactly. There you go. You just said it. On a happier note, if people want to find you on social media, where can we find you, your music, if they want to support the EP? Yeah.
So the best place to support definitely is Bandcamp. Yeah, if you want to buy music from people, buy it on Bandcamp if you can, because they have the best like payment rates for artists, and they're super, super artist friendly. They have the first Friday of every month. They give all the pro states to artists, and they waive their fee. And they've been doing that the whole pandemic. So they're sort of like number one champion. But yeah, my music is streaming everywhere. I'm on Twitter at Merival, Facebook.com/Merival, and then Instagram at Merival with 3 M's. And that's Merival. And that's me. I'm around. Sometimes I post, sometimes I don't. But come say hi.
I love it. There's no structure. She's not posting every day, Monday to Friday.
Absolutely not.
Merival, come on. You have so much time now, you know?
I do, but as soon as I make as soon as you make a post, then you're like, oh my God, who's liking it? Who's commenting? Like, and then you're like checking the app every 2 minutes. I'm like, man, that just destroys my brain. I can't do it. That's no good.
Oh my God, I just love that. You're right.
Let me go at my own pace.
Yeah, you need to decompress. Like, I feel like, you know, we need the detox sometimes from social media and everything.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, it's hard.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for
Thank you
on the show. Love your personality and
likewise.
Check out Merival, either side. Thank you.
Thank you, Carlene.
Hi, I'm Carlene, and this is Diva Tonight.